So good afternoon, everybody, and hello to all our viewers around the world. Freya.
Thanks, everybody, for coming under such unfortunate weather. This is the 2015 edition of Parasite International Conference. Parasite is the first exhibition-making institution of contemporary art in Hong Kong, and we're founded in 1996 first as an artist-run space, and during the very uncertain period of time that Hong Kong is going through the handover to mainland China. And through the years, Parasite has grown into a contemporary art center, engaging in a wide range of activities and collaboration with other art institutions and museums locally and internationally. And this year, Parasite just moved to a new space in the North Point, Quarry Bay area, which set a stone that Parasite is marching to a new step. So among the exhibitions and the programs we're doing in this annual conference is played a very major role in Parasite's program. It serves as a space for debating issues of relevance for our field and its artistic and intellectual tools for engaging in the society.
Yeah, I think what we've tried to do with these international conferences, which in one form or another have happened for 4 years now, is to try to create a space of encounter and space of debate in Hong Kong and within Hong Kong that could be used for putting under question issues of urgency or of relevance for the current context, but also for an international arena of some sort. So it was also about making this claim of this place of being a participant in debates happening or initiating debates for the first time that would also create this sense of solidarity and of participation in various forms of and various international communities. We've debated various issues, and we've also tried to adapt the format of the conference each year to the topic that is placed under question. So rather than going through a sort of inertia that conferences often do, maintaining the same formats and maintaining the same protocols, we tried every year to adapt it very much to whatever was under question. Last year we had quite a successful edition that looked at the position of the sort of resurgence of performance and of living bodies in exhibition making, in institutional programs, in the overall framework of the visual arts, and we looked at that from a historical point of view, from a cultural geographical point of view, and also, oh, you hear me better now, right? And also linking it with other developments happening in contemporary dance. So this year, because of also another format that Freya will discuss a little bit more that we've initiated, we are back to a number of fundamental questions for our field, and going back to the constitutive format of our field, that of the exhibition, and trying to answer some very simple questions like, what do exhibitions do? What are their claims today? What are the roles that they imagine for themselves? What are the roles that are being assigned to them? And what are the responsibilities that come with such roles? And we devised this operative for possibilities, for hypotheses for what exhibitions can do today. And of course, they're partially overlapping, and of course, they're not telling the entire story of contemporary exhibitions, but we found them as good starting points for the discussion over the next 3 days. So the first one is looking at exhibitions as part of an economy of artistic production. So essentially looking at that at the particular claim that exhibitions make, that leaving aside curatorial narrative and leaving aside a kind of authorial position that the exhibition makes as an exhibition, they are their fundamental role is that of being an essential role in bringing to life artistic production in a kind of post-studio era, a post-studio practice era, in which production happens as, you know, as being triggered by the exhibitions. And of course, this mode of approaching exhibitions come with a particular understanding for what role of the curator should be. This usually means that the curator is first and foremost somebody that serves, that accompanies the artist, rather than an author. Now, the second one that we entitle exhibitions as autonomous fictional realms are those exhibitions that make a very clear proposition about the limits of their own time and space, the ones that impose a new set of rules, a new constitutional reality, and a new contract with the audience that the normal parameters of reality do not necessarily apply within the boundaries that they claim for themselves, that new fictionalized rules and relations between the objects are the ones that govern this new space that is being created. And of course, there's a number of terms in common parlance and in the discourse that are often used with this mode of understanding exhibition making, and you know, the idea of the poetics is one that is often used in this regard. But of course, there's a longer history within 20th century art connected to abstraction primarily, but also connected to completely different other directions of the avant-garde, and of course realism and so on, that are being claimed and are being somehow recuperated within this understanding of exhibitions roles. And then we have, well, tomorrow, exhibitions as tools for writing history, which would have probably been better titled exhibitions as tools for generating narrative. So when we understand history, it's not so much about the general history, nor is it about art history. It's simply about the exhibitions claim that they have an ability to produce narratives that can then be used in the actual reality. So it's not anymore about making a border between the space of the exhibition and its own rules and the outer world. It's basically about the exhibition's ability to generate, to create these narratives that can then have another function. Terms like knowledge production are often used for this way of approaching exhibitions' role. And lastly, exhibitions as sites for direct political action, when indeed the claim is that of some sort of unmediated consequence that the exhibition has on some sort of political structures, be it the relations of power within the actors engaged in making the exhibition, be it in the confines of the institution that hosts the exhibition, be it in the kind of art world, or be it in any kind of wider frame that art can actually make a claim to be affecting. Or it can also simply be about being able to create narratives or actions of consequence that circulate within, you know, an actual front of politics. So yeah, these are the general premises of these 3 days, and they're admittedly reductive to a certain extent, and they're admittedly well, to a certain extent, even polemical, but hopefully they will trigger vivid discussions, even if they would be all about contesting these categories.
Yeah, and as Cosmin mentioned earlier, that we are trying experiment different formats this year. Is I divided the conference into 3 days. The first 2 days will invite speakers. Each session will have 3 to 4 speakers, and they will give like 30 minutes each presentation about the third party's project or exhibitions, which they found is relevance to the certain topic. And so by the end of each session, we will only have 30 minutes wrap-up conversation because we want to leave the big group discussion on the third day. And also the third day, we will have a keynote lecture. So it's quite a commitment for the 3 days format, which we are trying to experiment a new format. And alongside the conference, this is also Parasite launched a new educational program, which is the first year we had this week of curatorial training for the emerging young professionals, which would select 12 participants. They are also in the seats with us from a very competitive international applicants. So they will join us for the 3-day conference and alongside a whole week with workshops from some of our speakers. So, and also, yeah, this Parasite Conference has a tradition that we always do live streaming, so it's not just for the local audience. So like people around the world can also join us for the conference, and you're welcome to post your questions on our social media platform. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the following 3 days and had a good time.
Yes, there's also a hashtag of the conference, which you can find on our social media, so we invite you to follow it.
What is the hashtag?
Oh, PS.CONFERENCE 2015 with a hashtag before.
Yes, no space.
Yes.